I'm Dave Greenwood, and this is Overcoming Distractions. If you are an adult with ADHD, a busy professional, an entrepreneur, a high achiever, or just need some strategies to navigate your adult ADHD, you're in the right place. Who am I? I'm an entrepreneur with ADHD and the author of 2 books, Overcoming Distractions and Overcoming Burnout. I coach and mentor people just like you, and together we navigate the ups and downs of adult ADHD. From getting out of our own way to helping people just like you thrive in the workplace. That's what I do. Want more info on working with me? Hit overcomingdistractions.com. Ready? Let's get to today's podcast. All right, gang, we're back. It's Dave. It's Overcoming Distractions. And if you have listened to even a handful of episodes, then you do know where you are. And this is the place for the busy professional with ADHD. Or if you think you have ADHD or you decide you call yourself neurodivergent, I don't care. You're all welcome. Even if you're just in a place where time gets away from you, your desk is a mess, and you can't get out of your own way, then you're in the right place. So anyways, hey, we are talking about thriving again. And we have Rand Selig back, the author of Thriving, How to Create a Healthier, Happier, and More Prosperous Life. We chatted a few months ago. Great conversation. It could probably go on forever, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So, but we're going to slice off a little bit of that today. We're taking a little twist because I know this is something you discuss in the book and kind of defining our own success. And we want to understand not only defining our version of success, but the concept of enough. I think so many of us, at least in this community of ADHDers, we push so hard, we push beyond our capacity. And I think then we know what happens after that. We get stressed out, we get burned out, which I think is becoming dangerously common, if you ask me. So Rand is going to walk us through what it takes to define our own success, understand what enough, I'm putting my quotes up here, enough is for you personally. Can we just recap really quick our conversation from last time? Obviously your book is it's titled Thriving. But I know we discussed it at length, but you have kind of a personal definition of thriving, correct? So can you just kind of tell people that, and then we can dig into the nitty gritty of personal success and enough?
Well, it's great to be with you again, Dave. And yes, I'm looking forward to our conversation today. Just a couple of comments about what thriving is. So thriving is thriving is the climate. It's not the weather. Anybody can have a bad day, and that doesn't mean you're not thriving. It just means you're having a bad day.
Yeah.
Thriving for me, and of course I've done a lot of thinking about this. I have a fairly high set bar for it. So again, doesn't mean that if you don't hit all of these points, you're in deep doo doo. No,
Yeah.
no. But the way I think about thriving, and actually the way my book is organized, there's 4 really important segments. One is thriving personally.
Yeah.
And that includes a number of really important things: that you have character, you continue to build character, that you're managing yourself well, that you have a good relationship with yourself. I say that the most important relationship you'll have in your life is the one with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
That you
Yeah.
have gratitude, that you have purpose. I think it's important to be humble and in awe. The more accomplished you are, the more you need to have those 2 things. Humility is something I had to work at, and it's paid some dividends. I have to say, people are more attracted to me when I exhibit some humility. So
Yeah.
that's sort of part 1. It's half the book. Part 2 then is striving with others. So, relationships with other people. There are very few people, hardly anybody I've ever met in my life who didn't want to have relationships and important relationships, deep and enduring relationships. And I also talk about the difference between leadership and management. These are
Yeah.
important relationships that are part of our lives. Um, Section 3 of the book about thriving, and a big element to this is thriving out in the world.
Yeah. Right.
And so you got to be of service to others.
Yeah.
You have to, be charitable, philanthropic. Again, two slightly different slices of that life. Um, and I think we have an obligation to take care of Mother Nature.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then part four of thriving, what it takes is thriving by moving ever forward
Yeah.
in life. Means learning from our mistakes. I'm going to take a little sip of water because I
It's all right. You know us, we
groggy.
don't edit here and everybody clears their throat. At the very least, you talked about Mother Nature. At least be outing and enjoying it, right? I mean,
Yes,
yeah.
yes. But serving her too. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going on that are destructive, and she bats last.
Mm.
but but
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah, 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 yeah. So
so yeah, so that would
we,
be a quick summary of
yeah,
what thriving's all about.
yeah. Thank you. And I think the interpersonal piece as well is a big part of it because
Much so.
as Adler said, like all our problems are interpersonal problems. So it's a interesting concept that I've been discussing with many people. So um, I believe you write in the book about defining success on your own terms, correct?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
Was there a turning point in your life where you realized that um, you needed to actually redefine success, or other people that you interviewed in the book that are a good example of that?
Well, it wasn't a giant turning point. It was just a doubling down.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I first went to Wall Street with my shiny new MBA, I met a lot of people, and boy, I said, "Wow, what have I done? I'm swimming with some sharks. These people are all about money. They're all about." Showing off in a certain way. I don't relate to that. I don't like that. So I had to come to terms with sort of the best thing I can say about it is the amorality
Mm-hmm.
of a lot of what Wall Street is about, a lot of the finance community is all about. And but the real doubling down came when I started my own firm. That was a dozen years later. And I said, I took 3 years to say, what is this firm about? Who am I? What's important to me? So I set up a set of principles. And a lot of this had to do with what is success. So I said, I'm not going to ever have more than 5 clients at a time. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to be able to do a great job. I want to serve them the best way I know how. And if I'm just you're saying, sorry, I don't have time for you today, that's not okay.
Mm-hmm.
So it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
things like that. I set up my company here in Mill Valley without a financial street address in San Francisco. And people said, wow, aren't you worried about that? I said, no, I'm not, because the kind of people who care about that don't care about the kind of quality and attention I'm going to give them. So if they want to go somewhere else, thank you, goodbye.
Yeah.
I set up my company very intentionally to be able to spend time with my young kids. If I occasionally I was traveling, but more often than not, my clients were here in the Bay Area. That's something I really want to do. I had done a lot of traveling.
And for
But that point,
clarification, the company you're talking about was in the financial world, correct?
it's an investment banking firm,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm very happy to say that last year it was named the best sustainable investment banking firm in the San Francisco Bay Area.
Mm,
And this year has been named the best M&A firm in
mm,
California.
mm.
So it's a serious company, and but I've defined it. I've controlled
Yeah,
it. I built it based on my values and what I wanted to do. And I got to say that has been enormously valuable. But I avoided burnout because of that. I could spend time with my family. I could be a scoutmaster. I could be a little league coach. I could do all the things that actually support and build energy for me rather than deplete me.
yeah, yeah. No, I think that's and you mentioned those external markers, so to speak, the money, the status, the titles that so many people
Yeah,
um, crave. So what can you tell people who may be afraid
yeah.
uh, of giving those things up? Um, does
Mm.
that mean giving up the ambition? Does that mean actually giving up the financial goals, or is it again just more of a redefining? Like we can obviously still be extremely financially successful, but redefining how we do that, right?
Yes, well, you're asking a really important questions, and I appreciate that. I hope your listeners are listening closely because this is I think true. I think this is a true concern, a fear, and the answer is no. You don't have to give up your ambition, but it's a different focus. It's kind of a shift in the mindset about it.
Mm,
It's so I think there are a group of things that are anchoring defining elements, and then I would be delighted to go into my definition of success.
yeah, sure.
There's
Yeah.
some of those. So first of all, this is very personal. This is individual, and that's what I'm encouraging people to do. Take a look. For me, I have to write this stuff down because I see that there's a gap, or I go away and think about it, and then I go, oh wow, how could I have forgotten this part of it, or something. So it becomes very personal, and that's what I want people to do is say it's about how I define it. It's not what my parents said. It's not what some other boss said. It's not what society is saying. No, it's me.
Yeah.
So that's number one. Number two is it really needs to be an internal set of parameters. It's not an external thing. um, what floats your boat, so to speak, is
Right.
is going to be different for you at different stages of your life, and it's going to be different for you than it is somebody else that work with, maybe respect. um, a third is that there are a lot of different components. You can't just say success is one thing. I don't think I've talked to anybody about this who says, oh, success, I can sum it up in one word. I don't think so. I don't think
Yeah.
so. And so because there are multiple parts of it, again, a need to think about it and put your arms around it, give it a big squeeze. Um, an- uh, Another thing that people talk about is what they're trying to do, what they're trying to achieve in life is some kind of work-life balance. They're high achievers, and they don't want to get into the zero-sum game. If they're working, they're not with their family, personal life, and vice versa. I understand completely what that sentiment is about, but I have to say I think this idea of balance is very limited. Because it's like a teeter-totter. If you're
Yeah.
on one, you're not on the other. I think it's much more, success is much more about the integration of the group of things that you're going to put in your basket.
Right. Because I know a lot of people that they're, and I've heard this so many times from people, they feel guilty no matter where they are. I mean, they feel guilty. They're at work and they're not home with
Yeah,
the
yeah,
wife and the kids.
yeah.
Um, and if they're home, then they feel guilty that they're not working to some extent.
Yes, yes,
Even on vacation, like
yeah,
they sneak away and pull out the laptop, right?
yes,
Yeah,
yes. No, it's really true, and you got to look at what's driving that, what's going on there. Um,
yeah.
and my last sort of big anchoring point. is that as I've looked at this more for myself and had many conversations with other people, the there's a paradigm of being and doing. And a lot of people think about success in the doing arena. So I did this, I got these sales, I did, went from A to B, those kinds of being. So being is about feelings, and
Yeah.
doing is a lot about accomplishments. So uh, I think the healthy, successful story is some kind of both, but in a proportion that works for you. And again, that proportion may change at certain points in your life. That's okay. That's okay. But then again, you're monitoring it. You're the one who's deciding, hey, this is where I am right now. My kids are off. I'm empty nested. They're off in college and I paid for college. So I can now do something else. I can be more of the be rather than the do. Some of these kinds of parameters.
No, and I
So
think that's important to distinguish that because I don't think many people drill down between the be and the do, right?
I think that's right. And I think the B is, we're going to talk about this when I go into some details here. The B is not one of these things that just happens to you all of a sudden because pick your age, 75. No,
Yeah.
the B is a kind of internal mechanism that starts coming out maybe when you're very young. I've
Mm.
seen I speak to high school students as well as people in retirement homes, and I've seen high school students who are they're dialed in, and it's impressive. I'm very pleased, and I hope they don't lose that. They may add to that, but the being is something that is who we are in a way,
Yeah.
and how it
Yeah.
manifests itself in the world. That's a good thing.
Yeah. I think to jump off that, and you kind of just mentioned it, is that concept of enough is a personal whatever, a
Yeah,
personal
yeah.
analysis or
Hmm. Hmm.
I'm
Assessment.
choosing assessment, exactly. I'm
Yeah.
choosing the wrong words.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I always like people to be able to listen to this podcast and then kind of walk away and say, okay, you know what? I need to start kind of implementing or kind of doing what they're
Mm-hmm.
talking about. So, um, how can somebody begin that process of discovering what
Yeah.
is enough?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes they talk with, coaches or mentors, or quite frankly, sometimes even people need a therapist because they're just in that
Yeah.
season of life, so to speak. But I
Yeah.
mean, how do they begin the process of just discovering what is enough for them?
Um, I think it's a willingness to take a look.
Yeah.
And maybe that takes some courage. It certainly is going to take some honesty. You have to sort of say, hey, something will come up, and it comes up very quickly. Say, oh, wow, isn't that cool? It
Mm.
was whatever it was, a boat, a car, a watch, somebody telling you about a vacation. And you say to yourself, go away from that conversation. I mean, hopefully you're there present and you're saying, hey, that's cool. But go away and say, hey, is that for me? Is that for me? Is that going to be something I want to make a choice about? So if I'm going to do that and I'm going to be buying that thing, then I'm not going to be buying something else, presumably. So is that a choice I'm willing to make? Thriving, by the way, and I didn't mention this, is really a huge point. Thriving is about making choices.
Yeah.
Choices about how we spend our time and who we spend our time with, what our habits are, and our feelings. That's what thriving. And when we get our hands on that steering wheel, when we're driving our own bus, then we have a lot more chance to go where we want to go.
But it's mindset too, right? I mean, maybe the
Oh,
mindset word is
right.
overused, but there are, and I plead guilty of this 100 times over,
Yeah.
for a period of time where things weren't going right. Is you wake up and you put your feet on the floor and you're miserable
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
from,
Yeah.
before you even get your coffee in the morning. because there's just things going on, whether it's in business or life, that are causing you to go to that default negative, right? So it really is about mindset, and that has to play a role in how you're going to define your success personally, right?
It does, and again, another good point to be making. Sometimes people make changes out of pain. The
Well,
things
yeah, I
not
think a
going
lot of us do. Yeah.
right. I mean, there are people. I think I'm one who are doing well, and I want to do better. Okay,
Mhm.
so it's more the vitamin than it is the pain pill. But
Yeah.
when you got the pain going on, you're suffering. As you say, you put your feet on the ground in the morning, and you think, oh no, I've got a crappy day that I'm looking, have to deal with. I have relationships that aren't working for me, and so on and so forth. That's the invitation. This is an invitation to take a look, and then you say, what am I going to do about that? Am I
Yeah.
going to just sort of be beaten up and say, "Oh, I don't have any choices"? I don't think so. I
But
don't
I
think
think
so.
for some that can be uh, a difficult place to get to. Um,
That's
especially if you grew up uh, differently wired.
yep,
Um,
yes,
you've
yes,
you've worked your ass off, quite frankly.
yep,
Um, Maybe you're burnt out. Maybe, well, for purposes of this community, maybe your ADHD
yeah,
was part of that equation because
yeah,
I've said it 100 times. I think people with ADHD or adults with ADHD, we can burn out faster and harder just because
yeah,
of the way we're wired, the way we work.
yeah,
So, um, and that for some people, that's a rebuilding process. So,
yeah, yeah.
what's your advice to people that, quite frankly, need to rebuild? Rebuilding can be, and I'll clarify this the way I think of it. Rebuilding can be an adult at 50 who just got diagnosed with ADHD. They just
Yes,
realized they had ADHD, and
yes,
now they need to rebuild according to they've figured some stuff out. Rebuilding can also be my career changed. I got fired.
yes.
I sold my business.
Right, right,
So,
right.
so after I would guess maybe a monumental event, how do
Yeah.
we start to rebuild?
Um, well, this is going to sound hopefully obvious. Uh, I don't say hopefully obvious. Hopefully, but I think it's true. So I want to say it, and that is
I
you
will
got
say
to
some
take
things
care.
are obvious to us. We just didn't get there yet.
We got to take care of ourselves. We got to
Yeah,
take care of ourselves. And we got to be compassionate about ourselves. We need to rest. A lot of people that who are high achievers, with or without ADHD or neurodivergent, don't get enough rest. I am a big advocate of taking one day off a week.
yeah,
No shopping. No, try to get away from the electronics.
mm,
Try harder to get away from the electronics.
yeah,
Maybe don't turn it on. You'll get to it tomorrow. That's not a problem. People wait for you. Sometimes it's good to let things marinate anyway. Um, it's important to get support. Um, and support can come from a lot of different places, and support isn't just a lump of stuff. You got to tell the person who's in that place of maybe being support what kind of support you need.
yeah,
Somebody recently told me they were having a conversation with their adult daughter, and they were listening. The daughter was going on, and it dawned on them they needed to find out whether they needed to give advice, to just listen, or to give a hug. And so this is sometimes we got to give the instruction.
No, and I
Here's
think
my
that's an
deal.
important point because I think part of my week is spent supporting busy adults with ADHD. We
Yeah,
work one-on-one together to problem
yeah,
solve.
yeah,
But I tell people right up front, because there's a lot of people that um, that are in that space, whether you call yourself a coach or a mentor or whatever the term is
yeah,
they have a program. they have like a X number a week program, a X number a month program.
Yeah.
But those are, I think, too defined for many people. How
Right.
can that
Right.
so if you're going to choose somebody to support you and
Yeah.
maybe be you're by your side, they've got to meet you where you are. And you're right. I think you bring
Beautiful.
up an important
Beautiful.
point. You need to articulate that. The person should ask you as well,
That's
how
that's
can I
right.
support you? What do you
That's
need?
right.
Yeah.
That's right. And but if they don't, they're not heads up enough to ask that question, then you need to say, hey, I'd like your support, and here's right now for this conversation, this is the support I need from you. Can you do
Right.
that? And
Yeah.
pause. Ask that
Right.
question. Can
Like
you
for
do that?
example, I've met people over the years where they can't get out of their house in the morning without an utter dumpster fire. Yeah,
Yeah.
Other people got it buttoned up. There's other areas they need to
Right.
work on.
Right.
So
That's
yeah,
right. That's
right.
right. Well, can I share my group of things that I put in my basket of success?
Yeah, obviously. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
That's why we're
so
here.
well, no, I wanted to lay out the background
Yeah.
and the basic anchoring points. But now, and this is for me. So again, for you, Dave, and your listeners, you can listen to this and you can say, "Yep, that's for me too," and you can say, "No, that was not." But instead, I'm going to put this one in. That's the invitation I'm making to everybody. You come up with your group. So I've got actually, as it turns out, 14
Wow.
elements. That's a lot. You could have three, you could have five, you could have whatever. 14's a lot, but again, I'm dialed into this. So,
Mm,
forgive me, if you will. So, number one, and I think this is number one for a reason, is being positive. This
mm,
is a choice. This is a choice. Studies have told us that being positive adds 7 to 8 years to your life, and hopefully happy years.
yeah.
Number two is having purpose and a mission. Purpose is one of these overused terms, like passion is. But purpose is something you discover, and it doesn't have to be grand. It can just being a certain kind of person. Purpose.
Yeah. No, and I think for here in the ADHD world, um, I think we have to have some purpose. The ADHD brain does not like to go to a job they don't like.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
just that's just the way
Yes.
we're wired.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Well, purpose gives you energy.
Hmm.
Purpose allows you to get through those days when you think, wow, that was really not a good day. And that boss was stupid and the client was even stupider.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
so another one is being grateful. And
Mm,
grateful, the big public secret about being grateful is it doesn't depend on the circumstances. So,
yeah.
in the face of something bad going on, a bad medical diagnosis, whatever, you can be grateful. Why? Because you got support. Why? Because you have good doctors. Why? Because it could have been worse.
Yeah.
Another one is having peace of mind. So we're getting into the feeling. These are not things you can easily calibrate. So it's not one of
Right.
these yardsticks, which are those external things. A lot easier on an external basis to measure. These are harder to do. Peace
No, and
of
peace of
mind.
mind is again another one. The ADHD brain will ruminate on so many things,
Yeah.
and we feel safe when we have peace of mind.
Yes, safety, huge, huge.
Yeah.
I'm going to move on to relationships. Wow.
Mm,
How can you be successful in life without having valuable relationships, relationships that support you? The relationship with yourself, I was mentioning that before, relationships with others. This is friends, families, colleagues. These are really key. In my investment banking business, I've met a lot of very financially wealthy people, and but in my view, my definition, they were not successful. Why? You look at them, look at their relationships, failed business relationships,
yeah.
family members not talking to them. This is not, that's not healthy. That's not successful.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, an element of being successful is taking care of yourself physically, emotionally, having self-compassion. If you don't do those things, um, you may be bumbling along. Maybe things are okay, but then you will greater chance of hitting a real pothole and then
Right.
struggling to get out of it. So taking care of yourself is a measure of success. And that's one where you could check in with yourself and measure it. Am I, doing whatever? I'm taking my hiking. Am I going to the gym? Am I, eating properly? Am I sleeping well? Have I done a sleep test if I'm really not sleeping well?
Right.
Those
Yeah.
kinds of check in. Um, uh, Having vitality. Everybody ages, not everybody ages well. So having vitality is what aging well is all about. And I don't care whether you're 40 or you're 70 or 80, this is still you're aging. And so aging well, having vitality.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. No, I think that's because you're right. We're that it beyond goes without saying that we're not getting any younger.
we're not getting any younger. Well, but you can in some ways get younger by shifting some of the things going on in your life. You meet somebody who you haven't seen them in a year, and they're looking a lot older. And you see somebody else who's looking so alive, and they're looking a lot younger.
But I think it's
Right?
the choices you make. Like you have
Oh, right.
to like I've talked to a lot of people where um they have to, I guess, reduce the lanes that they're in. Like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm on the volunteer committee for these six
Yeah.
things in the community, and
Yeah.
et cetera, et cetera. It's just like, or I always say yes to things at work, whether I have the capacity or not.
Wow.
So those are
Wow.
those choices that you're right that well, look at our presidents. You know,
Yeah.
they go in and they come out 8 years later and they look
Wow.
completely different, right?
Oh,
Because
completely.
it's stress.
And you
Yeah.
see it on the outside. You wonder what's going on the inside there too.
Well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so true. Um, I'm going to keep the next one I'm going to add. I have to, of course, financial independence, not financial like here's how big the pile is, but more what does that financial stuff do for you? Does it create independence?
Yeah.
uh, if you're relying on something, you're living in a tent rather than in a wherever you'd like to live. You don't have to. I mean, we've gotten a little crazy with the square footage of houses. We
Mm.
don't have to do that. After World War II, GIs came home and we had this huge housing boom, like 1,500, 1,800 square foot houses. They raised families there. Things were fine. So anyway, calibrate that. So financial
Yeah.
independence
Right. And
clearly,
that
and I
and I
don't
think that
mean to
goes back to
diminish.
that safety, feeling safe. Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Next one I have, again, I know it's a long list and this is not meant to be a laundry list. So hopefully your listeners will say,
Well,
okay, I've
you
listened
you
to this.
guys you guys listening can rewind and pause and take notes. So,
There you go. And you can say, Rand's right about this one. I like that. And this is for me. And that one's, I'll chew on that, but not jumping on my page right now.
yeah.
Another one is freedom. Wow. Can you say you're successful because you have freedom? I think so. The freedom I'm talking about is freedom, especially of time. And I like to say to people, don't say you're busy, say you're delightfully scheduled. Now, you can't
Mm.
just throw out those words. You have to, the word delightfully is there intentionally. So, are you? Are you? I mean, I have a lot of things going on and have for decades, but I pick those things. I bring my best self there. I'm learning when to not say stuff.
But I also think, and this may be the place for this, is not everyone uh, chooses the things that do require their attention. For example, maybe a busy professional that also has aging parents, those types of things.
That's right.
But again,
That's
going
right.
back to choices,
Yeah,
then you've got to look at your priorities, correct? And say, look, I need to be there for my
correct,
aging mother, aging
correct.
father. So maybe I just don't have the capacity for some of these things right now.
That's completely right. And that would be a good assessment to be making.
Yeah,
And the assessment of why are you there taking care of the person? If you're doing it out of some kind of a guilt trip, that's different than saying, hey, I'm doing it out of love and it's the right thing to do. And that's
right.
where my moral compass is. That's power. That's
Oh,
power. Lean
sure.
into the
Absolutely.
power.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to go back on this financial independence. And when I do public talks, I hold up a sign that says, "What kind of pirate do you want to be? Do you want to treasure your possessions, or do you want to treasure your relationships?"
Mm,
So again,
yeah.
these are take a look.
Yeah.
What's going on? What kind of pirate? We're all pirates of some type or another.
Right. Yeah. It's in
So
our blood.
okay, yeah. Um, uh, I think success, again, this is probably, I'm, not going to be very common in this one. I think, but I mentioned it's the fourth part of my book, to evolve, to continue to thrive as you go
Yeah.
through life. So you're evolving, but I say evolving with soul, that you're learning, you're being curious, you're learning from your mistakes. You're collecting your wisdom. I mean, people have wisdom. I mean, it doesn't really matter who you are. You have some, but are you collecting it? Are you aware of it? Are you
No, but I
saying,
think
hey,
that is like many of us don't um, do well on an assembly line, so to speak.
that's
You
right.
know,
That's right.
versus, if you've dug into the concept of flow, it's not only energy, it's doing the things you like, but also maybe there's a little bit of a challenge in there because
Oh, challenge
it
can be
keeps
great.
you moving forward.
Absolutely. In fact, I
Yeah.
take on things because I say, I know something about it, but I don't know as much as I'd like, and I'd like to learn more. I'm
Yeah.
curious about that, and I think that would be fun. And being curious, it makes life fun. So
Yeah.
taking
Yeah.
on something new is a cool thing, and that kind of leads me to being authentic.
Mm,
Successful people, attractive people are authentic.
yeah.
What they say you trust, and living that way is another of my elements to consider myself to be a successful person. And there are times when any of these I can say, I didn't do such a great job in the last, period of time with that. So button it up, get going, double
Yeah.
down on that.
Yeah. I
Um,
agree.
I got three more, just
Three
so
more. All right,
it's
folks,
not an
hang in
endless
there.
list. Yeah,
Hang in there.
hang in, please hang in.
This is
Another one
important
is
stuff.
power, and access to your power.
Yeah.
We have power in different ways. Some people are powerful because they're attractive, they're tall, they're strong. People are powerful because they speak so well. Or the power I'm talking about, particularly, is the power to make choices.
Yeah.
And when you let go of that power to make choices, you're on a conveyor belt. You're picking somebody else's values and options. Uh, you're not your true self. So power, huge. Successful people are
Right, because
dialing in.
one of the worst places for us to be in is like I have no choice.
Terrible,
Yep.
terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not
Yep.
true. Not true. Not true.
Mm.
Um, Another one is the sense. Again, not a measurable thing, but I'm feeling fulfilled. And
Yeah.
this could be, and I've heard, this has happened a lot in the last 5 years with the pandemic and so on. People saying, I don't want that job anymore. I don't want that commute anymore. I'm going to move to some other rural place and I'm going to change jobs or whatever. I'm going to work less, but I'm much more fulfilled. I've got a job that I like. I've got people that I'm working with, what we're doing, what this is about. I think
Yeah.
it's important and it matters to me. I'm surrounding myself in my personal and professional life with great people, and I'm feeling fulfilled. Wow, what that's a possibility. And to
Oh
me,
yeah.
check that box if you can say that. And if you can't say that, then say what's missing, and
Right. Because
then
I think a
go
lot of
bring it
us
in.
we get to Friday afternoon and we're like, oh God, thank God that's over.
That's right.
That's
That's
not
right.
fulfillment, you know?
That's no, it's not. No, it's
Mm,
not.
mm,
And I'm going to end with something, and people say, well, that's because Rand lives in California, the land of nuts and fruits.
mm,
But I think it's very important to be a certain kind of person.
mm.
There was this tremendous guy, Zig Ziglar. So in
Yeah.
my talks, I say, "Are you a Ziggy?" And people go, "What are
Mm,
you talking about? What is Zig Ziglar said?" One of his great things was, "Be the kind of person so that if someone said something bad about you, no one, and I emphasize that, no one would believe it. That's a
yeah.
kind of a person. So what is that person doing? They're being things like being what I call being loved. They're being kind. They're being respectful. They're being interested in somebody else. They're helping somebody. They're saying, "Hey, you're new to the company. Um, I'm happy to have a coffee with you, or show you some of the ropes. Let me know. Let me know if I can be of assistance to you."
Yeah.
Being again, being, not doing, but being that kind of being
Being, yeah.
available, being available.
Yeah.
Um, and carving out time to
Yeah.
be that person, and very intentional. So my day today, how many times am I going to say something to someone that's going to make them smile? How many
Yeah.
times am I going to um, tell my wife I love her, or I appreciate something she's done? What is that about? Being rather
Yeah.
than doing.
That could be the whole concept of our discussion here, being versus doing.
It's so
So,
true.
yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
true.
Awesome. Well, we are at time, but that was a action-packed, I don't know, 30 something, 40 minutes. And that's what I love about having you here. So, because there is so much stuff for us to think about.
Yeah.
And I
The good
know
stuff. The good
and I
stuff.
know these are episodes where people are going to listen to more than once. They're going to take notes. Hint,
Yeah.
hint, people.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah. Remind people again where they can find you and the book.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Best thing to do is just go to my book website, www.randselig.com, RAND, S as in Sam, ELIG.com. Lots of information there. You can download my favorite quotes by chapter. The book has a lot of quotes. My readers tell me they love the location of these quotes because they amplify a point I'm making. There's in the back of the book is 75 paragraphs about books that I've read that really impacted me. So you can read those. Those are on the website.
Oh, great.
Gearing
Yeah.
up, hopefully in the next month or two to release the audiobook. And so I
Oh,
wanted to have some
awesome.
materials on the website that
Yeah.
would be for people who are listening to me. I'm doing the narrating. So there's that kind of stuff. You can connect with me if you have a question, you have some feedback. If you'd like to invite me into your book group living room or your company, talk or something. This is what I'm doing. I'm really trying to inspire and engage and encourage people by engaging with them about these really important themes of thriving.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you again. We will have you back and slice off another piece of your expertise in the coming months. So it's always great to have you here. So
Dave,
thanks
you're a great
again.
host. You're a great host. I love being with you. I only regret that Boston and San Francisco aren't a little bit closer, but there it is.
Yeah, well, someday I'll see if I can get out that way. I've been out your way once, so and it
Make
was
it twice.
we'll see what we can do. So, alrighty, sir. We'll see you soon.
That sounds great. Thanks again.